All right, chat, YouTubers alike, we've done WUBRG, multicolor, and this is the final one. Artifacts, colorless lands. All right. We have been at this for almost 6 hours, 5.5 hours almost. Sort of tired, and we got to do deck building and all that. So, firstly, as always with YouTube stuff, gotta go with YouTube stuff. Smash that subscribe button with the like on the video for the algorithm, while also checking out the socials and not forgetting to hit the bell notification to get more videos like these, set reviews where we review stuff for multiple formats like Standard, Explorer, Historic, all Arena, and sometimes Limited and Commander. Without further ado, let's go. Argentum? I'm going to say Argentum Masticore. 5 colorless, 5/5 artifact creature, Phyrexian Masticore. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Masticore unless you discard a card. When you discard a card this way, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to the mana value of the card of the discarded card. So there have been a lot of Masticores in Magic's history, and Masticore, the original, is just called Masticore. Feed the kitty. You had to discard a card always. And the two mana to deal a damage, well, okay, it wasn't the greatest. This card, on the other hand, oh, by the way, it has first strike. Forgot to mention, it has first strike and protection from multicolor. The pros, the good things about this guy, or this card, I should say, is not so much that it has first strike, although attacking into Sheoldred is a thing. It's got protection for multicolor. I don't think that really matters, because the majority of the stuff that does really deal with this are obviously all single color. So like Infernal Grass, Abrade, Lauren, and many others, right? The real thing about this is that if you discard a card, you can discard actual spells and you can get value out of them. So like if you're playing out of the graveyard, you got to maximize it as much as possible. So like flashback cards, you know, if you're in Explorer or Historic, you get Madness and, you know, stuff like that where you can destroy stuff while also getting value out of it. And, yeah, Unearth also. So I don't know. Oh, and like Conduit, where you're able to play stuff out of the graveyard. So I don't know how good this is. And I think if you're in a more mid-rangey shell where you're a this like kind of I don't want to say this competes with Mightstone and Weakstone, but I think if you're in a more mid-rangey attacky shell where you just want to play creatures, this also allows you to play with Power Stones. So like Power Stones aren't embarrassing anymore, where like if your opponent gives you it and you're playing this, you're like, you know, you can accelerate into this on 4 instead of 5. Excuse me. The problem, like I said, is the discard enough? Because discarding lands only hits tokens. Albeit you could theoretically discard a land and kill, you know, Fable tokens. So you're not completely dead to like a bunch of stuff, right? So you just got to find value where it is. Like I said, the issue is it doesn't do anything when it enters the battlefield. It's not like Mightstone and Weakstone where you either draw a card or kill something on the way in. This doesn't do that. And I'm very skeptical on 5-drops that don't do anything when they hit the battlefield, right? And 5/5 for 5 is good. Problem is that dying to basically every red removal spell outside of Obliterating Bolt is kind of a numbo. Mirren Safe House, 3 colorless artifact. As long as Mirren Safe House is on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of land cards in all graveyards. This card is annoying. Why is it annoying? Because now Mono Green has a way of adding more Nykthos to their deck. And that's annoying to me. And by the way, it doesn't say it turns into that card, so it doesn't gain legendary. And even tapping as a basic land, adding a land or adding a mana is an activated ability. So, oh, by the way, if you have, say Lotus Field in your graveyard, it's that. Add 3 mana. This card scares me a little bit. I don't know if it's good, just it scares me a little bit because it just has all of the activated stuff. That's not to say that you should, just like having an extra way to get Nykthos activations, and it's a damn artifact, so you can search it up with Karn. And God, can we just ban Nykthos already? Like, come on, man. I still don't think being able to add 9 billion mana on turn 4 is okay, but whatever. I know the deck is like a 48% deck because everybody's geared towards it, but still, like, come on. In Standard, I don't see it. There's not very many things that you want to activate with this because there's not very many lands, if any, that tap for more than 1 mana. And there's not very many lands that have have activated abilities that do a lot of stuff. That I would want to do, but I'm mostly looking at this in older formats. Does this copy creature lands like Mutavault? Yes, because it's an activated ability. So it'll turn into whatever it says. So Mutavault, tap 1, it becomes a 2/2 creature. So I said, in older formats, this is scary. Because there's so many good lands. Thankfully, although it doesn't matter because it's banned, but thankfully it doesn't gain the ability of Field of the Dead. Or Valakut, because Valakut is a triggered ability, not an activated one. Monument to Perfection, 2 colorless artifact, 3 search your library, or 3 tap, search your library for a basic sphere or locust land card, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle. Sphere is a new land type we'll talk about later. 3 activate. Monument to Perfection becomes a 9/9 Phyrexian construct artifact creature, loses all abilities and gains indestructible and toxic 9. Activate only if there are 9 or more lands with different names among basic spheres and locust lands you control. That was a mouthful. This card sucks. Like, it's not Field of the Dead, and you need 9 different land types that are among only basics, spheres, and locusts. And locusts only exist, I think, in Legacy. I think Cloud Post is banned in Modern. I'm not sure. There are other locusts in Modern, but I don't think Cloud Post is legal. I'm pretty sure it's banned. If it's even in Modern. Yeah, basically Maze's End for basic spheres and locusts. It's weird that they said locusts because there's no locusts in Standard unless next set we're getting them. Because Wizards will do that. They'll put like they'll call them plots, or like, they'll put cards that don't do a damn thing in a set, and then 2 or 3 sets later, when it's like at the end of the Standard before rotation, they'll put a card that it's supposed to synergize with and turn it into an archetype, and you don't know it until you see it. And this feels like one of those cards. Like, for example, Forsaken Monument felt like that type of card, but it never manifested into that. Whereas this card seems like it could, just we don't have any locusts. We do have spheres, but you'd have to play all of them, if that makes sense. And in older formats, like, I got nothing. Like, I don't think you're playing this just because there's locusts, and you can only play in Legacy anyway. Mirror Convert, 2 colorless, Phyrexian Mirror, artifact creature 2/1, toxic 1. Tap, pay 2 life, add 1 mana of any color. There are a lot of 2 mana dorks. Dime a dozen. This one anybody can play, has toxic, and you can add a mana of any color. Problem is you got to pay 2 life. Is that good enough? I don't know. 2 mana, or a mana dork for 2 mana is very good on its own. However, the fact that you have to pay 2 life to use it every turn is probably a bit too much, especially in standard, where I'm telling you right now, based off of, and we're going to go through it, based off of this set feels like standard is going to get a turn faster. So mid-range and especially control decks are on notice. I am afraid to put a card in my deck that says I have to pay 2 life to get a mana out of it. And only in standard. This card doesn't see play in any other. Soulless Jailer. 2 colorless, 0/4, Phyrexian Golem artifact creature. Permanent cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast non-creature spells from graveyards or exile. So this stops what was I gonna say? This stops Greasefang. This does not stop Collected Company. And this only stops a little bit of Emergent Ultimatum. Other than that, I have no idea. No, it does not. Because it says players can't cast non-creature spells from graveyards or exile. Adventures are from your hand. When you cast the adventure from exile, it's a creature. It's not a non-creature. So like, so this card is basically for Collected Company decks that try to stop specifically Graveyard Reanimator shells. Problem is what format has those besides Greasefang? And what is this player can't cast non-creature spells from graveyards or exile? Because like, even if it would stop like creativity, it doesn't. It only stops Emergent Ultimatum, and that's only non-creatures. And hold on, I'm gonna look this up just to be sure. I should have looked this up before the start of the stream, but Emergent Ultimatum. Search your library for up to 3 different monocolor cards with different names. Exile them. Shuffle, you may cast them. So yeah, you can't Emergent Ultimatum. Excuse me, good deal. So yeah, this doesn't even stop like yeah, I don't know. I think this card's actually actively bad. Like it doesn't stop enough. Yeah, like Roiling Vortex like stops everything that is played from exile besides creativity. I wish this card stopped like all the exile stuff. Right? Like instead of it says can't cast, it said players can't cards in graveyards or exile cannot enter from those zones or something to that effect. Where it stops creativity, it stops ultimatum, it stops all these stuffs that do stuff from the exile zone. Because like, why do you have, you know, Weathered Runestone and Grafdigger's Cage, where the intent of those cards is to stop that stupid shit from happening, and it doesn't. Right? Permanent cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield. I'm cool with that. Like, I'm surprised it didn't say from the library either. But yeah, I'm over this card. I don't think it's good enough. Staff of Completion. Staff of Domination now has been completed. Unfortunate. 3 colorless artifact. Pay 1 life, destroy target permanent you own. Pay 2 life, or excuse me, you have to tap this. Tap, pay 1 life, destroy target permanent you own. Tap, pay 2 life, add a mana of any color. Tap, pay 3 life, proliferate. Tap, pay 4 life, draw a card. 5, untap Staff of Completion. Okay. So most people will say this card is bad. And for the most part, I might agree with you. Unfortunately, or maybe it's fortunately, is that something to sneeze at? I don't know. But what I want to do with this is unfair things. So I want to destroy my own, I want to destroy my own Demonic Pact. I want to destroy my own Archfiend of the Dross. I want to destroy stuff that kills me. Right? And I want to gain a bunch of life doing it. So that I can keep using my Staff of Completion. So, like, I only theoretically pay 2 life with Children in play to draw a card. And actually, my first time I activate it is actually for free. Because so like, for example, if I'm at 16 life and I just play Children, right? And then I play Staff of Completion or vice versa, but mostly on my turn 5. So I play Children, I'm at 16. I draw a card, I'm at 18, right? I play Staff of Completion. I pay 2 life, I go to 16. I draw a card, I'm at 18 again. So, this staff is, like, specifically with Children or any way you can gain a crap ton of life, this card seems very good. Like, it doesn't look that good on its face because everything that you're using, you have to pay 2 life. But if you're able to gain a crap ton of life, you can do some unfair things with this. So, like, life gain decks, this is your way to draw cards now. So, like, you can, the mono white life gain deck that had a hard time drawing cards, here you go. You have a way to draw cards now. And your life actually matters. Like, I'm not saying Angels would play this because they have, like, 8 cards that put a bunch of crap into play and draw a bunch of cards. But, like, in Standard, specifically, this is like your Phyrexian arena, essentially. But you have to pay more life. But your life doesn't matter when you're at 45, right? And you have enough mana that you can do it twice. Right? But yeah, I'm just trying to do unfair things with this. I don't care about doing the fair thing with it because this is not a fair card. When you're paying that much life, you're not trying to do fair stuff with it. I have no idea how good this is in older formats outside of Explorer Pioneer. I don't think it's worth it there because you're already doing unfair shit in there anyway. Sword of Forge and Frontier. This is the final sword of the set. They have finally finished all of the swords of all the colors. This is the last one. Sword of Forge and Frontier. 3 colorless artifact equipment. Equip creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and green. Good protection colors. Unfortunately, it's not black. Whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. You may play an additional land this turn. Equip 2. Swords are usually good in Standard because they're powerful enough. The issue is that they were good 10 years ago. So, ironically, this sword is better than the swords that they put in Modern Horizons. It's kind of ironic, really. Those swords were fucking terrible. This sword's actually good. Problem is, you got to actually connect with it. And you're not doing anything on turn 3, which is kind of a liability in Standard these days. But if you're able to equip it, hey, man, that can get ugly. Like, you can accelerate pretty fast. I think this is not as good as, say, if you're going to play like Oil or Gruul or whatever, you can get the theoretical play additional lands by just playing like Hadama. Because you get extra lands that way. In older formats, this is more of a nostalgia factor, but since they finished the swords, this is the last one. You're not going to see anymore. Shouldn't anyway. Tablet of Completion. 2 colorless artifact. Put an oil counter on Tablet of Completion. Tap 1, add a colorless. Activate only if Tablet of Completion has 2 or more oil counters on it. Tap 1, draw a card, activate only if tableau to completion has 5 or more oil counters on it. Unfortunately, I don't think this is good enough. But if you're playing this, you're playing it in mono red. And this is kind of like a sideboard card in my opinion. This is kind of like your card advantage thing. And you already, if you put like, say for example, what I want to say. So if you have like the land, the oil land, you could play this on 2 with the oil land, tap, put an oil counter on it, and then tap the oil land and put a counter on it, and now you can tap it for a mana the next turn, if that makes sense. You're never gonna get to 4 mana on rate, so you'll get to accelerate to 5 on that turn. So, but again, I think this is slightly not good enough. Because Bankbuster does this without having to do the oil shenanigans. And while the oil thing is relevant, I think you need to have something that does it on its own without having to actually like spend turns to do it. So like if you're able to proliferate, fine, but the fact that you tap it to add mana and it doesn't put an oil counter on it, frankly, is dumb. Like I think this card, if this card said put an oil counter on it and you had to spend turns to put 2 oil counters on it, and the fact that I tap it, it should add an oil counter. Then it would be playable. But I think the fact that it doesn't add an oil counter on it is unplayable, in my opinion. This is a trap, basically, is why I put this here. Trap card activated. The Filigree Silex. What Jace is holding, you see him in the background. 2 colorless legendary artifact. Tap, put an oil counter on the Filigree Silex. Apparently every set has a Silex now. Tap, sacrifice the Silex. Destroy each non-land permanent with mana value equal to the number of oil counters on the Filigree Silex. Tap, remove 10 oil counters from among permanents you control and sacrifice the Silex. It deals 10 damage to any target. A mouthful. Is this card good enough? Are you ever getting the 10 oil counters on your stuff? Is there ever a time that happens? Because if it does, like, maybe. But I don't know, man. I don't see it. I mean, it's like Powder Keg and Ratchet Bomb, but you want to get to 10 oil counters. And obviously, if it said 10 oil counters on this, it would never happen. But the fact that you can remove 10 oil counters off of stuff, that's sort of relevant. And if an opponent has a lot of 1-drops, like they just go 1-drop, 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 you play this on 2, right? And now you have something that gets rid of all of them. So it's hard to evaluate this, but I'm pretty sure it's one of those things that you're not playing a lot of them because you don't want that many Ratchet Bombs. But you probably want enough to like 20 them. So probably like 2 as like, you know, something to, you know, get rid of tokens or, you know, whatever, right? But I don't think, in the grand scheme, I think it's just a slightly under-tuned. Cool card, though. Zenith Chronicler, 2 colorless, 3/1 artifact creature, Phyrexian construct. Whenever a player casts their first multicolored spell each turn, each other player draws a card. I put this in here for the mere fact that it's just for literal Grixis. And you're a monocolor card, or you don't play that many multicolor cards, and you're playing a 2. This is a sideboard card. Strictly sideboard for Grixis for aggro decks. You just slam this and force them to deal with it on the play. They have to spend their turn 2 or turn 3 to get rid of this stupid card, and they can't play Blood Tithe Harvester or Corpse Appraiser. Your move. And that's relevant. If you ever get a card off this, you're winning. And that's the end of it, right? The goal is to put this on the play and force and try to get them to cast a multicolor spell. And if you draw a card and trade with something, you know, like a Corpse Appraiser or, you know, whatever, that's the type of value you're in. But that's it. 3 color decks is all you're wanting this for. Any deck that's playing Blood Tithe Harvester, you want this in. Because they want to jam that on 2, and you're just like, nah, man, you got to kill this first before you draw before you give me a card, right? All right, that's all the artifacts that I think are playable, even close, which aren't very many. Now we're on to the lands. Surprise, chat. The fast lands are back, and the arts are amazing. All right, Razor Verge Thicket. The allied fast lands are back. Sea Chrome Coast. Look at that art. Blackcleave Cliffs, for the love of God, finally. We got My Kingdom for a Blackcleave Cliffs. Copperline Gorge and Dark Slick. Look at that art. Dark Slick Shores. So awesome. Allied fast lands are here. Chat, these lands are amazing. And it allows aggro decks and mid-range decks to play to the board, and you get another, so you have 2 duels that come into play untap on turn 1. So you're able to play 2 color allied. I'm more impressed that we got the allied fast lands that I get to play green lands untapped. Are you kidding me? I get Copperline Gorge. Gruul players rejoice. Are you kidding me? And I get them in Explorer too? Bro. I'll have 4 untapped duels there, chat. Copperline Gorge. Carplusion Forest. Theoretically, the flip lands. The pathways. And Copperline Gorge. I got 16 untapped sources of red or green. Yeah, Stomping Grounds. Shockland, whatever. 16 untapped sources. Right? And that means if I play 24 lands, chat, and I play 4 forest, 4 mountains, and 16 duels untapped, I get 20 untapped sources on turn 2 of all my colors. I can play an aggro deck with both Werewolf Pack Leader, which is double green, and I can play Eidolon of the Great Rebel in the same deck. Because I have 20 untapped sources on turn 2 of both colors. That's absurd, right? All right. But there are other lands, chat, that I think are playable. Myrix. Here's a sphere. Land, tap, add a colorless, tap, add 1 mana of any color. Activate this only if Myrix entered the battlefield this turn. Interesting. 3 tap, create a 1/1 Phyrexian Might creature token. This card's actually good, I think. In the sense of, like, you can play this, and if you need a colored mana source in a pinch, so, like, you know, you're playing this and you need a splash color, now you have it, right? And it's a sphere for whatever that's worth. But this land is essentially, this land is like, what was it? Castle Ardenvale? This is basically Castle Ardenvale for artifacts, but for toxic creatures. So, yeah, you can't block, but you don't care about that. So, and this comes into play and it gets to produce green or white, which is, like, very good. Yeah, and not a sorcery speed either. Good call. So here's the spheres. Every color got them. I didn't put that. I just put 1 because I thought this was the best art. Every color has one. So white, blue, green, black, and red. This is the red one. They all do the same thing. They all enter the battlefield tap. They all tap for their color. And they all cost 1 color and 1 colorless tap, sacrifice, and draw a card. Are these good? Don't know. But I think the monocolor decks would probably play 1 as like another way to draw a card, but they don't count for mountain. They don't count for any of that. So I don't know. These cards are very, very good in limited. In standard, maybe a little bit too. I don't know. I think the colors that don't have, say, the duels that are from New Streets, Streets of New Capenna, the allied colors had that where they tap for a duel, like black or red, but the tramways, but they sacrifice and they draw a card. The color combinations that don't have one of those, maybe they play like one of like the color that they have the most of. So like if they're playing like Jund, but they're like mostly green, they play like one, right? As like a way to, you know, draw a card when they don't have, you know, they obviously can because they have the Rakdos Tramway, but all right, the Monumental Facade. This is the coolest art ever. Sphere land. Monumental Facade enters the battlefield with 2 oil counters on it. Tap, add a colorless. Tap, remove an oil counter from the Monumental Facade and put an oil counter on target artifact or creature you control. Activate this only as a sorcery. This is the oil land that I was talking about. And yeah, we basically get free modify and oil synergies from your land. Awesome land. Extremely awesome for the oil deck. And that's about it. Not very good in anything else. And maybe some, you know, modify. Mycosynth Gardens. This art is so cool. Another sphere. Tap, add a colorless. Tap 1, tap it, add a mana of any color. The real kicker, though, is X tap the Mycosynth Gardens becomes a copy of target non-token artifact you control with mana value X. So you want a Reckoner Bankbuster, although you don't get the counters. You want a you know, I had like a list in my head, and I'm drawing a blank right now of artifacts that I'd want to copy with this. Is this good enough in Vintage? Where you get to copy Soul Ring? Or a Mox? Or Lotus? I'm trying to think of any good artifacts that I'd want to copy. Like, in Explorer, I don't think there's very many. Like that I actively want to copy. That are non-token, because you can't copy like, you know, treasures or blood tokens or whatever. I think what this card wants you to do with it is it wants you to copy creatures with it. The problem is that you're only trying to copy, like, you would have to be playing like a monocolor deck, like mono white. And that's the issue, right? I just don't know. I would much rather trying to do busted stuff with this as opposed to trying to attack with it, if that makes sense. And it doesn't allow you to, you don't get to continuously do it. So, like, once you do it, that's it. I don't think it doesn't keep the ability, because it doesn't say it does. Because usually when you do that, it usually says that it keeps the ability. So, really, I'm more trying to, like, copy, like, busted stuff with it. Soul Ring, Lotus, stuff like that. Not so sure about standard. I don't know what you're copying with that. The Seed Core, another sphere. Tap, add a colorless. Tab, add a mana of any color, spend that mana to cast Phyrexian creature spells only. And Corrupted, tab, target 1/1 creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn. Activate only if opponent has 3 or more poison counters in it. So basically, anything that says Phyrexian as a creature type, you get to cast it. This is basically a reflecting pool for those. So if you want to play 3 colors, here you go. Here it is. I think I'd still want to stay in 2 colors though. Like, imagine for a moment that you're playing all Phyrexian creatures and you get, so for example, we're just doing green-white here, right? You get the Seed Core, you get Razorverge Thicket, and Brushlands, right? So that's 3 dual lands on tap on turn 1 for Phyrexian stuff. So you can cast your turn 1 stuff on turn 1. So Rot Priest, Skrelv, and other stuff for creatures. And giving your stuff 3 power is relevant. So this land is a player just because you're allowed to add a mana of any color to cast Phyrexian stuff. All right, chat, that's it. That's all the cards. And we did it in 6 hours, under 6 hours. All right, now we're getting to go to deck building. Hooray, right? So, if like this kind of content, hey, smash that subscribe, like, comment, hit that notification button stuff, and all the other YouTube algorithm things. If there's cards on any of the stuff that we did or that we didn't talk about that you think should be part of the competitive discussion, please feel free to leave a comment in that section of those videos that are going up on YouTube here in the next week. And YouTubers, this is the last one. The deck building may or may not, I'm leaning towards not, to put on YouTube. And we didn't talk about the Juggernaut because, But socials are in the description below. The Twitch link for the stuff, Explorer, semi, and standard, sometimes historic, semi-competitive, ladder, ranking, content live. And we will see you then. Hopefully to see you on the live side. If not, we'll see you in the next YouTube video here soon, hopefully. And we'll see you later. Appreciate everybody hanging out.